Searching for something that cannot be found. You want to make me disbeliever, but I'm turning it up, oh, turning it up and oh.
And I won't get off the ground 'cause people just show their Alright, how's that? Is that better? For some reason, whenever I turn my computer off, the default microphone changes all the time. Anyway, so what I was saying, you didn't miss anything. I wasn't giving away any information or anything like that. What I said was, I wanted to change things up a little bit just for tonight. In that, rather than opening cards like every weekend, and I have gotten a bit too loud. That's perfectly fine. I love the feedback. There you go. Turn it down. We're good. Let me know. So, I'll wait so I don't like music talk over. Still loud? It's like negative 40 dB. All right, it's actually negative 31. I will try to project my voice. So, to begin, the reason that you're here, that's so weird. That's so strange because I can see is it because my microphone is like super far away from my face? Let's do like this far. That's what's weird about it is that to me, what it looks like is Spotify is like super low, and I'm like super loud. So that's so strange. I appreciate it though. I appreciate it. This is why I always ask Techno, because she's our resident audiologist. Audiologist. There you go. Okay, good. I didn't even play around. I didn't even touch it. It was like this when we started. So the reason that we are taking a little bit of a divergent path from opening cards constantly is I get these questions all the time. I get questions about GameStop all the time. So for those who don't know, for the past year-ish on and off, I've worked at my local GameStop. The office is like, JC, thank you for joining. So that's the thing, is that I want to start off by saying my experiences differ, first off, from either your own that you've had or somebody else that you know. My experiences will differ. I'm not going to say anything like, oh my god, terrible, this, and this. I'm not going to do that. So if you came here to like see me talk crap about GameStop or anything like that, there will be some parts, but it's mostly on it's on a personal one-to-one personal level. It has nothing to do with the company per se. That's two. This is personal experience, not oh my god, this company. And number three is that there really isn't a number three. It's really just those 2 points. That it's my personal experiences, that somebody you know or your own experiences may differ. And number two, it's not going to be completely geared toward the company structure, because I have a difference of opinion on that. The third thing, there is a third thing. I do own GameStop stock. So I am a GameStop shareholder. So I do own a portion of GameStop. Not that it matters, but that's the third thing. I do own GameStop share. The fourth thing really is that I don't work there anymore. That's really the fourth thing, is that I no longer work there. I have not been employed at GameStop for about 2 months now. So knowing those four things, I'm gonna say four things, let's get started. I'm going to bring the story. Also, there's a fifth thing. This is really also a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to put it into the chat, and I will answer them. The one that I get all the time, that people who don't know, JC, you probably already know this because you said you worked at GameStop for a couple months. The employee discount is 15%. I get that so much, so constantly. What is the employee discount? It is 15%. It does not cover digital goods, so like downloadable content games. It doesn't cover that. And doesn't cover new-ish consoles. So like your brand new PlayStation 5s, your Xbox Series X's. Nintendo Switches. It doesn't cover that. At least from what I've been told, it does not cover that. So those are the things. It's a flat 15%. Now, the benefit there's not really a benefit. Apparently, let me go. Wait, I'm like rambling now. So, last July, after we got back from ConnectiCon, I had applied at my local GameStop because I was like, it's something that I've always wanted to do, is work at my local GameStop. GameStop has been there for over 10 years. It has been, I've done openings, I've done, midnights, I've done everything at that GameStop. I've done trade-ins. Some of my best friends worked there, and their relatives worked there. So I was like, I want to apply at GameStop just to get it out of my system. I can say that I worked at GameStop, whatever. It's a childhood dream of mine. So when we were at ConnectiCon, I got a call from the assistant manager at the time, and he's like, "Oh, you want to come in to interview?" So I come in. I'm dressed to the nines. Like this is leading somewhere. I'm just letting you know. Just the nines. He goes, "You're already more dressed up than the last person that came in. The last person that came in had sweatpants on. So do not wear sweatpants to an interview." Number one. But I was very blunt with him. I was very blunt with the assistant manager or assistant store leader or whatever you want to call it. I said, "I'm here for 15% off." Like, that's it. He goes, "Okay, I respect that." I was like, I have a Pokemon channel. I would like 15% off, and that's it. That's all I really want, is I want 15% off. That's what I'm here for. I was very blunt and upfront with him on the first. I only did one interview. I was very, very upfront with him. So I got hired. I got hired after that. I'd never done retail, never done customer service at all. And the people who work at my local GameStop, I love to death. I was texting one of them before. I will say that is the one major benefit if you've ever worked at a GameStop or plan to work at a GameStop, is that the people that you work with, it doesn't even matter to be a GameStop. The people that you work with at any job, a majority of the time, are going to be the people that make you who you are. You're going to be friends with them. Even after you leave that job, I know people are like, "Oh, when I leave that job, I'm not going to be friends with that person anymore." It's not inherently true at every place, at least not in my experience. I still message my first job coworkers. I was texting her the other day. I texted my friend from GameStop today. I texted her that she should be watching. She's actually working right now. I know her schedule. She's working right now. That being said, there will be times where corporate and other entities, managers, do come down on you for certain things. And it's not usually the company. At least, again, in my experience. Like I said, off and on for a year. But training goes really fast. Training, again, I'd never worked a retail job. I'd never done cash registers or anything like that, stock room, anything, nothing. Training took me about 3 days, roughly. Really trial by fire combat at really probably any retail job that you go to or work at. You will probably be thrown to the wolves immediately. I had noticed that my little GameStop, for whatever reason, was not opening on time, and it wasn't like, oh, the person comes in 10 to 15 minutes late. We're talking about 2-3 hours that people weren't coming in. And so I told the assistant store leader at my interview, I was like, "Hey, I know you have a problem." So it turns out somebody at that time was given shifts and just not coming in for their scheduled shifts, and just it kept consistently happening over and over and over again. So he was like, I'm gonna hire you. I got hired. The problem being, so I know I'm rambling. I got hired as an SGA What that means is that you are a senior guest advisor. In the corporate structure of things of GameStop, that means that that is a management position. Nowhere else is that a management position, ever. And how the hierarchy works is that there is GA, which is guest assistant or advisor. I forget which one it is. It's either or. The lowest, well, actually, the lowest rung on the totem pole is a seasonal employee, but that doesn't really count because you're only there for a little bit. A GA, which is kind of just like stocking, putting games out, putting games away, helping customers check out, and that's really all you can do. You can't do a lot if you're a GA. You're given such little responsibility if you're a GA. Then there's senior guest advisor or associate, which you are, like I said. Speed run through, exactly, JC. Speed run through. You are shot out of a gun. Like I was doing checkouts, I was doing transactions probably my 4th day in, helping customers find things. And luckily, like, the store is not huge, really easy. Anyway, so senior guest advisor, like I said, corporate sees that as a management position, which is, this is probably the only bad thing I'll say about management. Laughable. Absolutely laughable, because you aren't given much responsibility. Your responsibility is to check, the same responsibility as a GA, to check out and assist customers when they come in and or call or place orders online. And that's it. That's the only rung up from GA and SGA is that you get to take stock in when it comes, and you get a key. They call them key holders. They're the ones who open and close the store. That's the management responsibility, is that you open and close the store. You're given a security code, stuff like that. But that's really it. The ring between GA and SGA is not very large. That's it, is that you're given a key and a security code, and you get to take stock in and be able to move stock around. You're given a fair amount of responsibility in terms of what the stock is. And then after that is the assistant store leader. Now, the assistant store leader has since changed recently, very recently, actually, around the new year. This is a newer development. Around the new year, they started doing a new program called the SL2 program, where 2 stores are operated by the same store leader. Now, the store leader, this is the top ring of your local shop, is an SL, store leader. The ASL, so it's SL, ASL, SGA, GA, seasonal. Now, with the SL2 program, it is that, like I said, one person is in charge of 2 stores. That is the point of the thing. A lot of people didn't like that. I'm not gonna go into the details of the corporate thing, but that's how it's structured now. That is how it's structured entirely now, is SL, ASL, and the ASL now is also designated to 1 store, and is usually the SL's not like secondary store. So like the SL is deemed to be primary somewhere, and ASL is deemed primary to be the other store. So they're having 2 upper tier management people cover both stores. Why? I don't know. Again, not talking much about corporate. My experiences with that, though, in that structure, because it was leading somewhere, was when I got hired by someone who was in the area manager program last year. This was a tentative program to kind of test out at least in my opinion, the SL2 program. So this one individual was coming from New York, about an hour away, every day to his area. The area was my local store, the store from my hometown, another store another 20 minutes away, and then another store in a mall about 20 minutes away, roughly. So he's covering 4 stores. He was a salaried employee, so all of his gas was comped and everything like that. But that was the area manager program. That program ended this past December. They just got rid of the program and they moved to the SL2 program. The person that hired me he left the company because they got rid of that program. Again, his choice. So he left the program in December. He left the whole thing because he was like, I'm not going to be making any money. His choice again. So he left. For the first 3 months of the year of 2023, we didn't have a manager in the store. At least not my store. We didn't have a manager. My assistant store leader, who did hire me, left in January. And I'm going to take that back. We did get a new manager in January. It was late January. Very late January. It was weeks after the ASL had left. Anyway. So now we're getting to the personal stories. So this person gets hired as the new store leader. We are told about the SL2 program, and I don't meet this person. I'm at Courtney's sister's wedding. So I don't meet this person until like late January, like a week after he gets hired. I'm supposed to work the Thursday and Friday after we get back. So I work Thursday. The Friday, I come in and the door is wide open. And there's somebody I've never met before behind the cash register. I'm like, oh, hey, you must be. He goes, oh, yeah. I go, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, yeah, I was supposed to take you off the schedule. I just never told you. Like, okay, do you want me to leave? I was supposed to be there from open to close on Saturday. Or Friday. And he goes, no, you're here now, so you can work. So I'm like, okay. Now, I admittedly had issues with this guy. Doors weren't being locked, safes were being left open. It didn't work. It didn't really work from the very beginning. Which, I don't know, my fault, his fault, doesn't really matter. It's over with now. But we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. There was one time where, let me go back, not super far back. There's a lot of times where customers will just leave things. Controllers, consoles, yes, consoles. People will leave consoles at the store and never come back. Headsets, they leave a lot of stuff. Customers leave a ton of stuff. So I had this customer leave not a new controller, but a controller. And I was like, what do we do with this now? What are we supposed to do with this controller that's just sitting here? We don't have a lost and found. There's no lost and found at GameStop. There's no lost and found. So he goes, oh, that's easy. Takes it, types in on the stock computer, prints out a sticker, and now it is in our inventory and we are selling it. He didn't clean it. Not a thing. At least it's a thing. It is a thing. You're supposed to clean it before. You're supposed to clean everything before you try to resell it to your customers. He didn't clean it. He didn't clean anything the entire time he was there. But I was like, that's really shady. You basically stole from a customer. What happens if the customer comes back in and wants the controller? You're gonna have to sell him the controller just because I didn't agree with this individual at all. But I thought it was really weird. I thought it was very, very strange that somebody would allow somebody to do that. But a store leader, like I said, has the power to do literally everything. I learned after a while that they can also promote people at random at times. My store at the time had 4 key holders. So each store is deemed to have a certain number of key holders. So 4 was what I was told was supposed to be the number of key holders that we have at our store. So it was me, 2 other employees, and then the store leader. He then promoted someone, which totally deserving of a promotion. Like, he's a great person, but I thought it was weird because I also was told that store leaders couldn't do that by the old store leader. So I thought it was weird. It was just a very strange transaction, and he didn't tell anybody about it. This person didn't tell his employees about anything that was going on, any kind of stock stuff. So like when we came in to work, we were just supposed to, like, oh, we sold this thing. There was a time where I was holding a used PlayStation 5 for a customer for an amount of time. Now, GameStop policy is we can hold something for a customer up to 48 hours. That is the time frame. If you don't come in before 48 hours is up, we can start selling it. So I was holding this thing for him, and when I wasn't there, he decided to sell it to a different customer, and then talked to him about it, and he said, oh, we can't hold any new consoles. I was like, dude, it's used. Like, it may be a newish console, like it's a PS5, but it's used. Like, that is the whole point. Getting to that point, getting to the used new thing. I know that there's like a perceived belief that employees like play games all of the time. Like, the new games are taken out and employees play them and then they put them back, and that's the one that's opened. That's not true at all. What happens is GameStop has this thing called a shelf copy, where the new game, we don't get like boxes, we get covers, but like we don't. Anyway, that's a whole other point. So we get the games. We're supposed to take one game, open it, and then put that game in a drawer, and then the case goes onto the floor for sale. Now, the only time you ever buy an open copy is if it is the last new copy in the entire store. But again, it hasn't been played with. Hasn't been like, oh, no customers are here, no one's looking, let's play the game now when no one's looking. At least at my store, we weren't allowed to do that. You are allowed to check out a game for like a 3-day period as an employee, but my store didn't allow that with new games, meaning games that were new. But you could do that with used games. You could always do that with used games. Used games, you could just, they're used. We have other copies of new games. They're used games, sure. You can check it out. You could, like a Blockbuster kind of thing. For those who don't know, Blockbuster used to check out games. You had 3 days to then bring back the game, and then it would go back to circulation, like it never left. But that was used games. But new games, we're never allowed to do that. We couldn't do that. So I remember someone saying like, oh, well, why am I being sold like an open copy of a game? Like, it's obviously used. It's not used, at least in my case. Again, this is my case. It's not used. It's been opened, yes. That being said, you can request a 10% out-of-box discount because the item is out of box. There's no cellophane. We can't prove to the customer that it hasn't been played or hasn't been used. So, but you have to request that. I can't just automatically do that. You have to request it. There's a lot of things that the customer has to request to be able to get, and that's one of them, is the 10% off out-of-box discount. It's something that any GameStop can really do. I think Alaska and Hawaii might be exceptions, but they can apply a 10% off out-of-box discount. Now, that's true with pretty much everything. If there's like a Funko Pop or a figure or something that's out of box, if it's called a shelf worn. A shelf worn is like if it's damaged, then it's a 15% off. But if like the box is open, it's like a 10% off discount. Now, with pre-order stuff I've gotten a lot of questions about pre-order stuff. I know Tiamat Ruler, particularly a user on Twitter, he like pre-ordered something, or they pre-ordered something, and their GameStop's like, oh, it hasn't come in yet, hasn't come in yet, hasn't come in yet. I don't know if that's true or not, because there's a lot of shipping concern. At least, so when I left a few months ago, I believed that FedEx was not going to be used by GameStop anymore. I remember reading an email about that, like FedEx in particular was not going to be used anymore. There was a case, this is a personal case, when I was working one day where FedEx employee drops our packages off. I didn't sign for them, but that's how you usually do it. You sign for it. At least now the procedure is you sign your first name, the number of boxes, circle it, and then your last name to verify you got that quantity of boxes at the store. So this particular time, brings in the boxes. I asked for the signature pad thingy, and doesn't give it to me. He's like, oh, no, I know your name. I'm like, okay. Didn't really think anything of it. This was also a new policy for the circle thing that I hadn't read yet at that time. So, week goes by, and we're missing like 2 packages. We're missing 2 packages that were supposed to come the week before. So I get asked about them. I go, I didn't sign anything or anything. And he's like, well, that's your signature. You know, that's your signature. You circled it. There I go. That's not my handwriting. He goes, oh. I go, yeah, I don't know if you know this, but the FedEx guys, at least the 2 that I've been working with on a consistent basis, haven't been giving me the pads lately. They have just been, you know, writing my name and then doing the circle thing. He goes, how did you know about the circle thing? I go, I don't know. How the fuck would I know? How would I know how he knew about that? Like, I don't know. You tell him about it, like. So, I had 2 other FedEx employees that I'd never met before at all come in, like, oh, you know, we're trying to find these packages that you're missing. Who was the driver? I don't know his name. I don't know. I know our UPS driver's names because he comes in here and buys Funko Pops off me all the time. But I was like, I don't know his name. Okay, we're gonna be looking for the packages. Another week goes by. Like 2 packages do show up. They're not the right ones, and I don't see that. I start not seeing that FedEx driver anymore. I'm like, all right, that's kind of weird. So I found out from not the last FedEx driver, but the one after him, that particular FedEx driver had taken those 2 consoles. There were console boxes. There's console boxes. There's 4. If there's 2 console boxes, then there's 4 consoles in those 2 boxes. Doesn't matter what consoles they were. He had taken them and then tried to kind of frame me for it, but I guess they had found them. So they bring them in the next time. I don't know where they were. They never told me where they were, but he did try to take them. They bring them in, open and put them in the system. So it was we didn't lose anything, but I was like, how the hell did they like? And then I found out this week from when the computer that I'm using right now, the FedEx driver didn't wait for me and just kind of left. And so I was like asking FedEx about it. They don't track their drivers at all? None. FedEx doesn't track any of their drivers. You know how like on Amazon, you get like, oh, it's like 16 spots away from your house. Oh, it's like 5 spots away from your house. It's coming soon. FedEx doesn't do that. FedEx doesn't track their trucks at all. Period. Nothing. They can't find their own employees. They're like, I don't even know where they are. That's not even a GameStop thing. That's a FedEx thing. So I don't use FedEx for shipping anything. because they don't track their drivers. And but anyway, so yeah, so that kind of caused some ruffled feathers between me and the then store leader, because he didn't believe me. He believed that I was taking things. He's like, I'm gonna take 4 consoles and sell them or whatever. So that ruffled feathers. And then the dude up and leaves. It's like March. March comes, and there's like these rumblings that like, oh, he's gonna leave soon. He's gonna leave soon. He just up and left one day. Didn't tell any of the employees. Didn't tell anybody in the store. We get a phone call from our district manager. So it's after store leaders or district manager. District manager is the person who's in charge of your district, which is, you know, like mine was, I guess, like my county, and then a little bit of New York. Anyway. He never told anybody he was leaving. None. Nobody. So that's my 3rd boss in like 9 months. And then, so I didn't know what to do. The district manager is now, he got mad at us because he was like, oh, no one told me that he was leaving. And we're like, he didn't tell any of us either. He found out that he was leaving because the person who left continuously stopped making a schedule for us. We would have to hound him on Fridays when they were due. We're like, where's the schedule? Where's the schedule? Where's the schedule? And this was from January to March. This consistently happened, and I would consistently tell this district leader that it was happening, and then he'd be like, oh, no, that's not happening. No, it's not happening. No, it's not happening. And then it just continued. So then he got mad at all of the store employees for not telling him that he quit. And we're like, dude, we got nothing. Like, there's nothing. Like, he didn't tell us. So a few weeks go by, and we don't have a store leader. This is probably like 4 or 5 weeks that there was no store leader. I just kind of acted like the store leader in that time. I just kind of acted like it. Wasn't like there actually was one. So I'd be taking care of things. I'd come in. I don't live that far away from the GameStop, so I would come in when somebody couldn't make it, was getting sick or ill or something, and it happened a lot. So I would consistently call the district leader. I was like, how is the hunt for store leader going? I'll come in a few weeks. I'll come in a few weeks. Come in a few weeks. And around, God, what was it? May? Yeah, it was May. So we did 3 months of just no store leader. We didn't have a store leader. We got a new store leader. She's lovely. She's the current one. She's a lovely person. But I was like, I can't work at a place where, you know, this is happening a lot, where there's a lot of turnover, there's people leaving, there's no accountability to the person who is the higher up. And I get it. District leaders have like a ton of stores in those districts, and I get it. We actually our store got told to stop bothering him at one point by another store leader. Was like, just stop calling him when you guys have issues. Like, what? We have issues. Like, we need somebody to be hired or promoted. We don't even care at this point. It got floated around that that I would be promoted, and I was like, I don't even want that. You know, I was like, I don't want to be promoted, because then I'm just kind of stuck here, and this was only like a kind of fun thing to do. Now, that seems to still be the case in a lot of ways, is that the people who are higher up, not necessarily, you know, in corporate, have a corporate office, but the higher up you go, the more destructive it kind of is, in my opinion. I've gone back to my my GameStop several times, and it doesn't seem to be very well run. And it's not the store leader's fault. I was told that the district leader came in and kind of rearranged everything to his liking. And it seems to be the case like everywhere. It's like he manages, or he's a district leader for several other stores in my area, and they all kind of look the same now. And it's fine for uniformity, but it's also that, like, they don't know what customers really want. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is I know I touched on it a little bit, was the pre-order system and stuff, because I don't know if that's true or not, if FedEx is going to still be the courier for GameStop or not, but that is a large reason why stores don't get stock, is because it comes late or it doesn't arrive ever. And they also closed down one of their shipping facilities. So around the holidays, I guess they closed down one of their shipping facilities. So all of that work got put on store employees. So whenever you're buying something from the online store, say you're ordering a game or a Funko Pop or a trading card, most likely 9 times out of 10 that order is being fulfilled by a store employee and then shipped from the store. It's not coming from some sorting facility or warehouse or anything. It is most likely being fulfilled by a person making, $15 an hour. Or not even $15 an hour. That's my state minimum. But like I know the pretty much it's gonna be minimum wage. I saw somebody, I forget what state it was, but it was like $8, or somebody else said they were like getting $7 an hour. I don't know what state that was. This is also going off of like Reddit and other social media sites, and it's just sad. And store leaders don't make much either. Nobody makes much if you work at GameStop. But the benefit is basically the $15 or 15%. But when doing pre-orders and stuff, if you're pre-ordering in the store, the best advice that I can give you guys is to be aware of when things release. If you're pre-ordering it, like 100% be aware when things release. Because when Zelda came out, when Tears of the Kingdom came out, I myself and the 5 other people I worked with, we called over 180 different people, if I remember correctly. We all systematically did it over the week before. We systematically called everyone. The day of release. The day of release. So not the midnight. The day of release. The customer comes in and goes, you guys have any collector's editions left over? And we're like, no, we called you, particularly this one customer, because he had mentioned, if anybody mentioned it, we had told them exactly what was going to happen, which I was given free range of what to do with the midnight release, which was, again, a management. He also happens to be friends with one of my co-workers, and was like, oh, I didn't get a call. Pulled out a sheet, which had us, like, a sheet of names. We're like, we called you at 1 p.m. on, I forget what the day was, like, just say May 12th at like 1 o'clock. And he's like, no, you didn't. And my coworker who did call him was standing right there. He goes, I left you a voicemail, dude. So he looks up, grabs his phone, click, voicemail starts playing. He goes, oh, I never listen to voicemails. So that's the best advice I can give you, is to be aware of when things release, because that person was like, oh, you guys like made sure I didn't get a collector's edition. He got his pre-order. His pre-order came. He got his pre-order, but he was pissed at us because he didn't get a collector's edition of Zelda, which we gave out at midnight. We allowed people to buy at midnight. We only got like 6 copies. Was it 6? Yeah, it was 6 copies. Employees do have first benefit. One of the only other perks besides the 15% is if there's something that comes in the store that the employee wants to buy, they're the first to see it, so they can buy it. They can hold it. There's actually still some stuff that after I left 2 months ago, there's still stuff that's being held for me. Put it that way. But their employees do have first crack at things every time. I have heard rumors, and I actually do know one store leader that made a business out of doing this, out of the benefit of being the first one to snag things. There's nothing against it. I've read it. There's nothing inherently against it in GameStop's policies or rule book or anything. Because you get first dibs, you can buy whatever you want before it hits the shelf. So I did know one store leader. It wasn't the store leader that I worked with, but I had heard a rumor about a store leader doing it in a neighboring town, where the store leader would get stuff in, he would take it in, putting it into stock, he would purchase it, and then would resell it for X amount over what the actual cost was. So people would come into the store and be like, hey, do you have XYZ? He goes, we don't, but I do. And like, what do you mean? He goes, I can sell it to you, but it's not from GameStop, it's from me. He made like he made a pretty penny from it, but there's nothing in the policies to stop anybody from doing that, especially a store leader. It's ethically wrong, but there's nothing against it. Nothing against it at all. So I could have been doing that the entire time. Oh, and the final thing, because I realize it's about 40 minutes over, and Techno's the only one probably listening to me right now. GameStop employee benefits never go away. In-store they do. Once you're removed from the system, your in-store benefits, they go bye-bye. But online, when you're buying stuff on the website and you plug in, there's a URL that you can go to for an employee to get your percentage off. But you can always get that benefit. Never goes away. And that includes free shipping. Never goes away. So I still get 50%. But thank you guys for joining tonight. I'd hoped for more questions. I was going to open it up at the end for questions, but oh well. I bored you guys to death. We will see you guys next time, and we may have some more live streams during the week, because this coming week is Kineticon, and we do have some announcements to make there. But you guys have a great Friday, and we'll see you next time. Take care.